Welcome to Life by Design with Janette. I'm Janette Mondon, life consultant and real results expert, and this podcast is all about helping you move forward from living life by default to living life by design. And today's special episode is awesome because we're not just talking about transformation, you are going to hear it. This podcast is called From Stuck to Designed, a real client transformation story. I have a beautiful guest with me today who has gone through the Dream Builder program and coaching. And what I love about this conversation is that it is real. This is what happens when someone says, something in my life needs to change. My guest today has spent over 35 years doing the deep, beautiful, sometimes messy work of becoming. And she has made it her life's mission to walk alongside others doing the same. Like me, she discovered the transformational power of Dream Builder, and it became a catalyst that reshaped her life and her career from the inside out. She is a certified transformational life coach and speaker, known for her heart-centered approach that meets people exactly where they are and lovingly calls them toward the life they were born to live. She believes with every fiber of her being that a life you love is not a luxury reserved for a lucky few. It is your birthright, and it is absolutely within your reach. She is the founder of Yes and Life, and she is here today to share what becomes possible when you finally say yes to yourself. Please welcome the incredible Lysa Nicole. Thank you, Lysa, for being here today. I just love and adore you, and I'm so grateful for this opportunity. So today we're going to talk about what life looked like before, what shifted during, and what's possible now. Because if you've ever thought there has to be more than this episode is for you. So again, please welcome Lysa Nicole. So I am so happy you're here. Let's start. So before Dream Builder, before coaching, what did life look like for you?
Life was feeling quite bland and unfulfilling at the time. And I just decided one day, I was in an existential moment, is what I call it. And I just decided that I needed a change. Something in my life had to change. I was helping my adult children with their children, being the nanny that I am, which I absolutely love my grandbabies, but I wasn't actually doing much else. And I knew there was something more for me, and I didn't know exactly what that is. Although the moment that I decided that I was going to change something, an idea came to me. And that very same day, something came across my social media feed that was like, it's as if it had flashing lights and arrows that said, "Here I am, pick me, click me." And that's what I did. And
Awesome.
that was my introduction to the work that I now do, that we do together, Janette, and it's absolutely beautiful.
So awesome. So a lot of people we work with are smart, capable, and doing all the right things, but they feel stuck. And you got to that moment where you kind of felt stuck, right? So that resonated with you, that you felt like there was more to life.
Absolutely.
Although being a grandma is absolutely wonderful. That's what they tell me. I don't have grandchildren yet. That's not in my cards up until now, but I think that's awesome. And what a beautiful thing to be able to help with those, but also knowing that there was something deeper. And I think, again, others' spirits were pulling you towards a direction and your own spirit. So that is awesome. So what was the cost of possibly staying where you were? You could have continued on doing this. Do you feel like there could have been a cost if you just didn't follow up on this?
Absolutely. The cost of not taking a step to change my life would have meant that I stayed where I was, and I was very unhappy and feeling very unfulfilled. And when I said to myself that day, and I was sitting in the laundry room folding laundry for my daughter and granddaughter, and I thought, is this all there is for me? Like, I've been a wife and a mom and a this and a that. And I had lost my husband a few years previous to that, and was just really searching for who I was as a person, aside from all of the roles I've played and all of the titles I've carried. Who am I? And I knew immediately that I was not living my passion. And my passion is to pour love and care onto other people and to empower them to create lives that they love. And I wasn't doing that for myself. So how could I help anybody else do that? Although, of course, like I said, I had specific training in another modality, and that came back to me in that moment and said, well, you took that training for a reason, do something with it. But like I said, that very same day, later in the day, another modality, if you will, another institution that does training in this kind of work came across my feed, and I knew that it was meant to be. I knew that it was very timely. It was exactly what I needed and had asked for, decided for in that moment, because the founder of this organization, she spoke about the things that I had been already living in my life, and it had taken me 40 years to kind of figure out. And I was implementing these things in my life that I had been intuiting, but I wasn't sure that they were really working. And I didn't have a clear, precise, definitive path, or I didn't know for sure that X, Y, and Z was what was working. I was kind of wondering, is it A, B, or C, or X, Y, and Z, or a combination of it all? And I was just floundering, basically. And that's where I was. And I knew I couldn't stay there. Honestly, my discontent had gotten so loud that I demanded change in my life. And that's what this is all about. And I had the longing to live my passion, and that I knew that I had decided. And so I opened myself up to all the possibilities, whatever that meant and however it looks, the messiness of it all. I welcomed it into my life, and it made all the difference. All the
I love
difference.
that. I love it. It's interesting to me that when we are ready, when we have that discontent, that longing, that something does come in, and it's usually the right thing for us if we can be brave, like you said, if we can be brave, if we can take hold. Did fear, doubt, or hesitation almost stop you, or did you feel like that? No, we were like, this is it. This is what I'm going to do. You just went for it.
For me, honestly, fear and doubt and hesitation and all the things had been stopping me in my tracks for years. So for me, because I knew that I had to change, or I was just going to cease to thrive, honestly,
Right.
because I knew I wasn't thriving. And so I knew that I had to go beyond the fear and the doubt. And I had been working on that incrementally over the last several years, especially after my husband passed away, because I was also an empty nester and now I was a widow, and I married very young. So I was in a place of exploring and figuring out who I was. And that was very scary, because up until that point, I hadn't really allowed myself to fully live from my core self, who I was at my core. I was, as I mentioned before, I was fulfilling the roles and being a wife and a mom. And I've done many other things in my life. Those were all wonderful things, but I knew that there was just something missing. So for me, it was more of a fear of not making a change, because I knew what the result was going to be if I didn't make any changes. So the fear of remaining the same was louder than the fear of changing.
I
To
love
answer
that.
the question.
Yeah, I love it. I think all of us are sent down here to accomplish something. We've heard the story. If there's a king who sends you on a mission to get something, accomplish something, and you go and do all the other things, but you don't accomplish that one thing, then we feel like we failed a little bit. So I think all of us have an innate something. Again, being a wife, being a mom, being a grandma are beautiful things, but also there's something innate in each of us that there's something we personally can do besides that, because we are individuals, and to find that and to know that, this is what I needed to do. And so the decision comes in, and then a shift begins to come in. So let me talk about this experience yourself. So when you first started this program, the Dream Builder program, what stood out to you? What stood out to you in this whole thing? Because you should try a different modality. You got into this one. What really stood out to you that you loved?
Stood out to me the most was that everything that I had been discovering and working out over 40 plus years of my life was in this beautiful, neat package. That we have tools, and first of all, we have the power within us to accomplish whatever we want. And that's where I was living from, or when I was trying to figure out, well, how do I do that then? And that's what the program does, is it teaches you principles and laws that are applicable to our lives every single day. And it's really just a handful of things that we do on a repetitive basis to create the results that we would love in our lives. And my perception, my thinking and belief, I guess, is that first of all, the first step that we all almost need to take, I don't like to use the word need very much, but truly, we all have to realize and begin to believe that we are absolutely worthy of creating and living the lives that we love, because we were placed on the earth, as you mentioned. We have an innate purpose coming here. And the purpose for us is not to have to suffer. That's a human, a human thing, suffering is, but that we all have the power within us to create and live beautiful, wonderful lives. And it is a gift that we've been given. We've been placed here so that we can create beautiful, wonderful lives. And that doesn't mean that they're all always perfect, that our lives are perfect, but that we create something beautiful out of everything that comes our way and out of every decision that we make.
The thing is too, is that I love that for me, it encompasses all my core beliefs. There's nothing weird or that it absolutely rings true in every way. I think that some of the things might be uncomfortable at first just because it pushes you, right? It pushes us to be better. I love that it's very science-based. It's very much that just so natural, actually, that it just makes such sense, and that it is absolutely possible for us to become these beautiful things that we're meant to become. It takes us out of survival to thriving. And I love that you kind of said that we don't have to just be here in life, just push, 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 or just surviving by default. As we say, we can absolutely design what we would love. So what mindset shifts did you experience in this? Now you're learning a new process, you learned something awesome. So what are some of the things that it helped you shift in your mind to just go from survival to thriving?
Probably the biggest thing, going back to fear, because I was able to recognize, truly recognize, I knew, like, I kind of knew I was fearful about a lot of different things. But what it brought front and center was that I had been living most of my life in fear, from the vibration of fear. And fear does not create the results that we would love if we're dreaming about beautiful, wonderful things, right? Because as you mentioned, it's doing the things even though we're afraid. And what are we afraid of, really? And so there was that, the aha in my awareness of, it's almost cliche. We've heard it before. There's nothing to be fear but fear itself. And that's actually the truth. Fear keeps us from doing the things that we really are put here to do, and the things that we would love to do, and what we would love to create in our lives. And so once I really allowed myself to soak that in, that the only thing holding me back is the fear. The fear is there because I am holding on to the fear. I'm allowing it to rule and run my life. And that's just an old pattern. I recognized and knew what the fear, where the fear itself stemmed from in my life. But what I didn't really grasp was how it was running my life in subconsciously, right? Even though at times, yes, I took bold steps and I acted bravely, but yet I wasn't getting the results I was in love with at the rate that I would prefer. But that's because the fear was the subconscious pattern. It was my default pattern. And so anytime I took those brave, bold steps, fear would come in and tell me that I couldn't do it, or that what if this, what if that, what. And I had again reached that place to where it doesn't matter. If I don't take the step, if I don't do it afraid, and I allow fear to continue to stop me, I'm never going to accomplish all the beautiful, wonderful things that I want to accomplish. Another mindset shift, I think this was kind of, it's almost coming to me now as I'm speaking. And that was in the back of my mind, I was thinking, well, I'm a woman of a certain age. Well, what does that even mean? Truly. However, we've been kind of conditioned to think that way, that a woman in her 50s is so. Can I start over? Absolutely. But was I being held back by that limiting belief that was just very quietly whispering? Absolutely. And here now I'm doing things that I absolutely love, that I have nothing holding me back. Truly, I am not married and I can go do what I want. But here's the thing, even if we are in a partnership and a relationship, we still are able to create the lives that we would absolutely love. It doesn't matter. We have this perception that certain things are holding us back or that we can't because of something, all of those things. My little yes and sign there, and what you mentioned in the beginning, we say, yes, this is where my life is, and I can have more. We don't have to live in an either or pattern, which we've kind of been conditioned to believe, or that if we want more, that means we're not grateful. That's not the truth. Life itself is calling us to the and, the more that we are here to create, that we get to create. And so that was a really, really big mindset shift for me, because it's like, no, yes, I deserve this and all those other things as well.
I
So
love that because it's very generational to be grateful for what you have and don't want more. But I love the yes, and we can be grateful and have all that we have. And it's okay to want more because we were created to be very abundant beings. Now,
yeah.
you chose to be coached. Some can do all this, but you chose to be coached. Was there anything that surprised you about that process? What was that like for you as far as actually having a coach in your life to help you through this process?
That has been very eye-opening for me, Janette, because with my history, my upbringing, all the situations, circumstances, and conditions of my life, I became a very independent person. Even though I was living from fear most of the time, I also knew that, or perceived, I'll change that, that people were depending on me, and that I was kind of the decision maker. I was the one that took the reins and led things in my with my family, my husband and my children. I was definitely the matriarch, and my husband and I made decisions together, of course, but for the most part, I homeschooled my kids, I ran a business, I did all these things. And so I did most of it without a lot of help because I didn't know how to ask for help. And so, with allowing a coach to come in to my life has been absolutely monumental, because I realized that, yes, I can do things on my own and get to where I want to be eventually. But having a coach by my side has allowed me to create things in my life by leaps and bounds, quantum leaps, truly, because I have somebody there that is my sounding board, or I can share with, and they can reflect back to me, or they can help me to find a reframe, maybe for a limiting belief that I have or something that is holding me back. We have that saying that we can't see the picture when we're the one in the frame, but the person on the outside looking in absolutely sees things is from a different perspective. And having somebody to be able to reflect that perspective back to me, or to show me a new perspective, has been amazing. In fact, I will probably never not have a coach in my life, even though that is the work that I do, because it is somebody that can come alongside us, and they're not going to sugarcoat it and tell us what we want to hear the way that sometimes maybe a best friend might do. Although a best friend hopefully is going to be honest, but that coach is like, I love you too. I love my clients. But I love you, but this is what I'm hearing, or this is what I'm noticing, or I'm observing. And it's in love and it's gentle, but it's in its truth too. And the fact that I don't have to do it all on my own and have to figure it out all on my it's liberating. It's absolutely liberating for me to allow help, if you will, or to have someone to come alongside me. Anybody that knows me knows that that's huge for me. So now I can't see me doing life any other way.
Love that. And I have to agree. I have my own coach also. And at times I feel like there's a lot of accountability. And sometimes before my coaching, I'm like, oh God, I didn't do the thing I said I was going to do, and to do it. But also having that satisfaction that I am getting things done, that he's seeing things that I'm not seeing, kind of that partner believing, where some people don't believe. my dream or have all that confidence in me. He has total confidence in me, and he has things that he will teach me, reframe, as I think I'm getting really good with the words and all the things and being positive. And you've even caught me in this before, was like, can I just recalibrate that for you? Can I just change that a little bit? Because we are so used to saying the same things, and sometimes they'll just come out, and it can be a very negative or a very unbelieving thing to say. And just noticing what we're saying, notice what we're noticing, is huge to absolutely have differences come up in our lives. And so I love that you're a coach, but you have a coach. I'm a coach. I have a coach. I think that is critical to keep us from drift, to keep us just really staying on top and every day doing what we need to do. Because up until now, life has its challenges for sure. As you've been there, done that, all the things, and just having somebody who can absolutely just really have your back. And I think that's awesome. So another question on emotional impact. Did you notice changes in your confidence, in your energy? How do things show up for you now in your life with this new way of thinking? What would you love? All these things. How's that working out for you?
It's been absolutely amazing. My confidence has gone through the roof, is what comes to mind, in that I am living my purpose. I know without a doubt that that is the case, and I'm doing it confidently. And here's the other thing. The beautiful thing is that people will come into our lives at just the right time for where we're at and what we need. And that's been my experience. And so it's just been, gosh, all of the things that I had worked out in my mind and was slowly building my confidence, being what I'm talking about at the moment. I had began to see an increase in my confidence. However, through doing the Dream Builder program and having a coach and continuing in the work, I cannot be my true self at this point in my life, because I know that that is suppressing what I have to offer to the world. And so it doesn't matter what it looks like. It doesn't matter what anybody else thinks about it or me or what I'm doing or how I articulate things or just how I show up in the world. When I know that I am doing so in a way that is true to who I am at my core, I know that that's all that matters. And I also know that I'm not for everybody, but I know when I am bringing my authentic self forward, that those who do resonate with me are drawn to that. We're drawn to one another. And that's a beautiful thing. Look at you and I, Janette. We met and we were drawn to each other, and we aligned ourselves in the same place at the same time so we could meet each other and then have this beautiful conversation. The thing about this beautiful work where we met, Janette, we were at an event where we had breakthrough. It was called Breakthrough Event, right? And I know I personally experienced breakthrough after breakthrough after breakthrough. And it was interesting for me because I experienced them in ways that were different than I had historically experienced that kind of a breakthrough. And just the shift in how I experienced it was monumental, because I allowed myself to express fully what I experienced without any type of hindrance or guards up, or I didn't shield myself. And at that event in particularly, I said, no, I'm going to allow myself to be seen and heard for who and what I am. And the people that resonate with that, great. Those who don't, fine. And so that has been probably the most monumental experience that I've had in my life in the past year. And I have experienced wonderful physical things I've manifested in my life. For instance, this house that I live in now, it is the closest house to my dream home that I've ever lived in. And I was at a Dream Builder virtual in September of last year. And during that weekend, I decided I want to live in that house. I had the address. I knew the people who owned it, the whole thing. And I knew they actually had moved. And I thought, I'm just going to reach out to them and see what can happen. But I also said, and I'm going to move into that house by December 1st. And that is exactly what happened. I made the decision, and then I took the steps, and I did it afraid, because you go knock on someone's door and say, hey, can I live in your house? It wasn't quite that, not quite that way, but it kind of felt like that's what it was. And
Yeah.
they were like, what? Yes, absolutely. Let's work this out. Let's make a deal. And that's what we did. And I'm living in this wonderful house that I love. But yes, I'm living here and I'm creating even greater things still.
I love it.
So
And it is all about the results. The thing I love about this that we've been taught that we are actually teaching is that there are results and they're repeatable, reliable, codified, all the things that once you learn the process, you can do things get over and over and use them in different quadrants of our lives. And just this whole thing, especially thinking differently. What would you love? All these things, it makes us realize, oh my gosh, I do have that power in myself to decide what I would love. I don't
yes.
have to just survive. And life happens to us, right? We're mortals, it happens to us. And some of those things will still happen to us, but we learn how to respond instead of react. And we learn that there's so much more out there and that I do have a lot of power over what is happening with me and to me. And so a lot of it, as you said, mindset changes, different things that come in, but the results are absolutely astounding since I started this process and then Greg has started this process. To seeing where we were a while ago to where we are now is just astounding to me. Just the confidence, like you said, confidence, everything, the mindset changes and everything. You talked about the tangible result in your life, which was your home. So that is wonderful. You had this dream, you knew you wanted this and it happened. Anything else that you have happened for you that you've had some tangible results that you can share with? And if not, no worries, but
Yes. So yes, what I've been discovering is that when we make a decision, and actually it was kind of a reflection, something was reflected back to me by my higher knowing. Every time in my life that I've drawn a line in the sand, and that's what I call it, where I make a determined decision that this is what I want, and I know that I'm worthy of it, that is when things really begin to change. Because once we decide, we signal, hey, this is what I truly want, and I'm doing this thing, right? And so, yes, I obviously the house result, but I have some upcoming things this year planned where I said I'm going to spend the month of September in Scotland, and then some life things occurred, right? And so I actually am going to spend 2 weeks in Scotland instead of the whole month of September. But I decided, and it felt a little scary because like who am I to take a month and go to Scotland and right, thinking all of the things that could be limitations, and said no, first decide where you want to go. That was taking the steps. What airport do you want to fly to? What cities do you want to visit? And answering those questions and then taking the steps to do it. Set the dates, book the flight, do the things. And so there's that. Oh, another thing, just even within our own organization that we are certified through, one of the things that I did was enroll or sign up for another event coming up in August. And I did that when we were at our event in March. I just knew that I wanted to go and need
yeah.
to be there. And so I said yes, and I took the step and made the deposit and did the thing, and I'm going. So those are the other two things that pop up in quickly. And I have a couple of other things that I am holding vision for, and I know that they are occurring this year for me. I'm in that moment. I know that they are yeses for me. And so I am taking the steps that I can today and every day to get to experience those things in my life. So one of them's a new car. So I'll be celebrating with you my new car soon, I'm sure.
Oh, I love that.
So
Well,
yeah.
do you feel like you have more control in your life and of your life? I mean, it's because of all these things that we've learned. We do have this power. So do you feel like there's more control that you personally have over your life?
Surely, yes, which almost some people might be thinking, well, that's kind of strange. Like, but here's the thing, we actually do have the control and the power, and it's a matter of deciding. Yes, there are things, as you mentioned, that happen, that occur, but those things are all happening for us and with us. And we get to create something beautiful even from those things. And so rather than being reactive, it is taking that moment to pause. And yes, we have emotions that come to us and go through us in the midst of those types of things, but we always get to choose how we act in the midst of it, how we do react, and what we get to create from it. And that's what it comes down to. Every single day is an opportunity to create something beautiful right where we are with what we have. No, regardless of the situation, circumstances, and conditions. And so, and even if it's that we don't do anything in the physical sense, maybe some event occurs that all we can do is sit down and be, and we just allow ourselves to be, but we don't pitch our tent there for forever or for even too lengthy of a time, but we allow ourselves to say, okay, I'm going to process this for a moment, but then I'm going to get up and I'm going to take a step. And that is actually something that has been very instrumental in my life, because in the past, up until now, there were moments where I would sit and pitch my tent and then life would just kind of happen around me because I was just there. Another thing I recognized with this work is that, as I mentioned, emotions come in. We don't really have control of when an emotion comes and hits us, but we have control about how long we hold on to the feeling of it. And so if we keep ruminating or reminiscing the same thing over and over and over again, that's what gets us stuck. And so now I've learned to allow the emotion, recognize it, let it flow. And scientifically, I think it's 90 seconds or less is what it takes for an emotion to actually go through our system. And then I allow it to go. And if it comes back, sure, I'll honor it when it shows up again. But that's what having control over our lives really is just recognizing that I get to choose right now in this moment, because that really is all we have, is this present moment. What I do, how I react, how I act, what I say, what I think, what I tell myself, how I speak to others, all of those things. It's all within our control. And even I happened to be speaking with coaching clients earlier today, and something that had come to me a couple of days ago, Janette, was consent. Everything is energy, including consent. So whatever we're thinking about or reacting to, or whatever we're consenting to. So our thoughts that we have are what we are giving consent to. And that really put things into perspective for me. It's like, even the things that we don't have control over, what other people say or do, or just circumstances that come up, that it's like, wait, what is this happening in around me or in my life? If I don't consent for it to affect me in a way that's going to deter me or negatively impact my life,
Right.
then it's not going to. It only can negatively impact me if I allow it to, if I give it consent to. So that's been kind of mind blowing for me the last few days, because I did happen to have a little situation come up in life the other day, and I didn't get stuck anywhere, but it's like, yeah, I'm not even going to consent to allowing that situation to have a say in my life, this beautiful life that I'm creating for myself. So,
I love that.
yeah.
So you have become this beautiful, amazing soul, the power you've realized. So if you could look back at the version of you before and you could say anything to her, what would you tell yourself? What would you tell her now? If you could go
Yeah.
back to our pre-life, or that pre-us
Yes.
before now, what would you
Yes.
say to her?
I would tell her, I would remind her that she is a powerful being who is absolutely deserving of every one of her true heart's desires, and that the beautiful person within, just to allow her to come out and to live life and to shine, because she was kept hidden for far too long. And so yes, I would just tell her, just fear is not real. It's just false evidence appearing real, and that you are worthy of absolutely creating everything that you would love in your life and that you have so much to offer the world. So be brave and be bold and be uninhibited.
I
Is-
love that.
yeah.
So, what
So
are you most excited about in the your future? You've learned all these things, you've changed, you become. What is something that you're just most excited about going forward?
being what I just described, I mentioned previously that at that breakthrough event, I made the decision that I was going to allow myself to be seen and heard. And I had some beautiful visions of what that looked like for me. Just a few weeks before that were leading up to that event, I remembered something that I used to dream about when I was a child, like a very small, young child. And what I realized was that I was finally becoming that woman. And actually, in truth, I already am that woman. And I'm living from the vibration of what it feels like to be that woman. And as I do that, she comes forth.
Right. I love that
Yeah.
so much. Someone listening right now who's exactly where you used to be, they're feeling stuck, unsure, and maybe even a little afraid to want more. The fear is real, right? What would you say to that person who's just feeling stuck, unsure, and maybe a little bit afraid to want something more in their life?
I would say that you, first and foremost, are worthy of everything that your heart desires, and that when you get to the place where you can actually truly believe that and embrace that, and I hope that moment is now, that it is absolutely okay for you to live from your passion, to search yourself, your own heart, and allow your life to be led by your heart. When we live a heart-centered life, beautiful things begin to occur. And it doesn't matter what it looks like. It does not matter what anybody else thinks or perceives. When you do that, when you live from your beautiful core self, because that is living in truth. And yes, people may judge you, but it's okay. Truly, when people judge, it's just a reflection of something that is within them that they could use a little bit of maybe sitting with or looking at, inspecting, or just really allowing to come to light in their own lives. And so if you're stuck, maybe you don't even know what it is that you want to do or who you even are at your core. I want to encourage you to really allow yourself to be curious and ask yourself the questions, because every question that we ask has an answer. And it is a beautiful answer, because the life that is breathing you and beating your heart always, always has your back, always intended for you to live a beautiful, wonderful life, and knows that you are absolutely worthy of it. And so, begin to question and be curious about what it is that you want, who you are, what lights you up. And in your curiosity, just be open to the answers that are going to be revealed to you. You might, like me, have memories about things that you thought of when you were a child. They might come back to you and open something right here back up for you. And then just be brave and bold, and don't worry about what anybody else might think about that, because the truth is what lives inside here is beautiful and is actually meant for the world. It was intended for you to bring forth and into the world. And there are so many of us who are just waiting to see all that you have to offer.
Oh, I love that. I love that so much. This is why we do what we do, right? Because when someone gets clear, when they start thinking differently, when they begin to believe that more is possible, everything can change. So
Yes.
if something in today's episode spoke to you, don't ignore that. That's your next step calling you forward. So if you'd love to experience this kind of transformation in your own life, I invite you to join me for one of my vision workshops. You can find all the details at lifecoachingwithjanette.com, and that's JANETTE.com. And if you'd love to reach out to Lysa, she can be reached at. So Lysa, tell us where we can reach you at on your socials and such.
My website is lysanicole.com, and it's LYSANICOLE.com. Or I am Lysa Nicole on Facebook and Lysa Nicole Official on Instagram. And those are the three places that you will find me at the easiest.
Thank you again for being here today. You are awesome. You are a beautiful soul. And I'm so grateful that I know you and that I am part of your, just part of your group to walk back home with. It's just amazing. So, and all you others, if this episode inspired you, share it with someone who needs to hear it. So until next time, remember, you are not here to live life by default. You are here to design a life you truly love. Thank you again for coming.
Absolutely.